picture of time of solution. See the
Hi,
possibility.
everybody. This is Carey Davidson, the author of the Five Archetypes, Ancient Technology for Problem Solving. And this whole series is about healing relationships with ourselves and with others. And today we have the wonderful wood primary Nell, who I adore. And I'm so excited that you're here. And I know that you're going to share something that a lot of other people struggle with. And so this conversation will help thousands of people. I am sure of it. Nell, please share with us, what would you like to change?
So I am an author and a speaker and a facilitator. And what I would like to change right now is this disconnect between how I show up in work and creating content, writing and speaking, that right now is like either super fun and like so joyous and I love it and heart aligned and it resonates and it's great, or very smart and strategic and efficient. And I feel quite certain that if I did those together, everything would be fabulouser. But I can't seem to get there.
I love that. And I totally feel that too. It's like this boomerang. It's like I want it to be fun, but also I want it to be right.
And
So,
I want it to
yeah.
work, right? There's an interesting third thing of like, I want it to work for sure on both sides. And yet the rightness of me is so, I don't even care if it works. I just want to know that I'm doing it right. So I can like give myself a gold star.
Yeah, I'm with you. So you do a lot of wonderful things. Can you give us an example of how this shows up in one area of your work?
Yeah, I mean, a very top of mind one right now. I'm building out my Substack, aren't we all? I don't know, whatever. I think it's really fun and fabulous, so I'm liking it. And so I'm playing with posts and with notes and responding and engaging. And I mean, I can joyfully spend 2 or 3 hours if the day allows, really playing there. But then I'll get to minute, 98 or something and have all this like guilt and shame that I'm 98 minutes into this thing and like who are these people that I'm even commenting on and how many hearts are there and did people actually like it and did it matter and was it enough words and were they good words and was it on brand, or I can get really like mechanized, like I'm going to write a post and there's going to be 3 takeaways and I'll probably work with ChatGPT back and forth to really get it tight and clear. And it's fine. I feel accomplished, but it's not fun. So that's a contrast.
Hmm. Have you ever had an experience where you were able to easily balance these two parts of yourself, the one that can get lost in the deliciousness of the joy of interacting with humans, and then the part of you that can be strategic? Have you ever had that a marriage of the two?
You know, that's a really good, interesting question. And I think my answer is that when I zoom out a little bit, when I extend the time frame to like 3 months, even, let's say, or honestly, even like a week, Karen, I don't know if I'm getting to the wood like, oh, quick, 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 maybe just skipping ahead a little bit. But I think, yeah, when I zoom out truly over a week, or if I look at like everything I've done in the last 2 months on Substack, both are absolutely happening. But my frame of reference tends to be like one frame, like, a nanosecond or like 2 minutes or the 98 minutes of the rabbit hole. And I evaluate myself based on that little glimpse.
So would you say you're hard on yourself in the moment, but less hard on yourself when you step back?
I don't think I step back very often.
Got it. Okay, so if we were able to help you with this in this phone call, and you woke up tomorrow and this was transformed into something that feels so much better and easier, what would that look like? What would your experience on Substack be?
I think it's that, I had a mentor tell me a while ago, like, it's so interesting because there's kind of like A, B, and C ranges, right? And C is like the visionary long term, and A is like the implement, do it right now. And then B is like the infrastructure in the middle, right? The like I don't know, 4 to 12 to 50 week kind of timeframes. And usually people are good at adjacencies, right? But actually you're like super, super clear on the distant, big, different vision, future, and an unbelievable implementer today and this afternoon and this hour. But the in-between gets like a little fuzzy and lost. And that's really a problem because it turns out like that's where momentum is built. And so I think what this would look like, that zoom out is a really helpful insight of like that I would have permission to do both of those things for 98 minutes or a day or half an hour or a week with a clear medium term 2 month horizon for the Substack and what I'm trying to accomplish. And that in between the day or the week or the hour module would be totally permissible in either mode because of that larger thing. I think that would be the magic.
Okay, I love that. Are you ready for some five archetypes perspective?
I'm so ready. I love this stuff. It's so brilliant. It's been too long since I've gotten it directly from you, so I need a booster.
Well, I love this too, and I love doing this with you. And it's my hope that this provides you not only some relief, but that boost of rocket fuel so that you take off every day and feel just outstanding and have nothing in your way of sharing your brilliance with a world that needs it so much.
Mhm.
So your primary is wood with a high secondary fire. Your lowest is water with the second lowest metal. And your earth is right in the middle. So when someone's primary is wood, their gift to the world is that long-term vision, but also execution. It's kind
Mhm.
of paired. It's not someone who wants to get into the weeds per se, but it's more like I know exactly what needs to be done because I have my eye on the prize. And it
Mm.
looks like this in 6 months or 3 weeks or 3 days. It's just future vision. And wood is really good at knowing it and moving with speed. And then a secondary fire's joy. Fire needs it to be fun and fast, right? So So the thing is, according to Chinese medicine, according to the five archetypes system, energy flows in a system and doesn't get stuck when we use all of our resources that are
Mm.
available to us. When we overuse one or two,
Mm.
we're then underusing the other parts of ourselves. And so we feel like we get stuck because um it's like running your car and only running it on one of its four wheels and expecting like why aren't I moving?
Yeah.
Yeah. So so there's really interesting patterns baked into these elements and they exist in this cycle. It's fire, earth, metal, water, and wood. And the energies, the two elements that come after your primary are your call it your output.
Mm.
It's what you create and put out into the world.
Mm.
The two elements that come before your primary are your input. It's the work that you do to think it through. It's that delicious pause to
Mm.
sit back and think about things like, well, how can I organize this so that it's structured in the right way to achieve this beautiful goal? It's almost like the architecture underneath a building.
Mm.
You wouldn't want to build a building with without architecture because probably will fall
That
down.
would be sad. Yeah. Yeah. Or you wouldn't want to stand in a building that had been built without it. You might want to build it. It might be kind of fun.
Exactly. So you and I could totally vibe on, you know what? Who needs an architect? Yeah,
Throw her up.
yeah. And then no one's gonna come to our party for the opening.
Mm.
I mean, like, girl,
No.
uh-uh.
No.
So, so input for wood energy consists of metal, which is the
Mm.
architecture underneath the thing, and water, which is the deeper why.
Mm.
What's the deeper meaning behind this gift that I'm giving to the world? What legacy do I hope to leave
Mhm.
by sharing this and getting so still that you can see several layers of
Mm.
information before you make a choice of which path to follow for how you might want to write. So as a writer, you have endless potential for what you could write and how you could frame it and what creativity and who and what perspective. And water is the ability to sit super still and look at all of those
Mm,
possibilities and tap into your heart beforehand and think about, like, okay, I'm writing this for this new author who has a new book about um cakes. I'm like, wait,
how'd you know?
no,
Cakes.
I'm actually really,
Correct.
I'm actually hungry. That's why I'm like, thanks. Yeah, so she has a book, and from a wood fire perspective, you are at risk for seeing that book and saying, "Oh my gosh, I'm hungry, and I love that these are great pictures, and I know a great pathway for this author, and I'm going to write it from this perspective." And I got it out there, and it was in the magazine, and it may or may not have necessarily achieved the goal that was in the author's heart. And so water gives you the ability to sit back and see, like, wow, well, there are lots of different perspectives I could take. And granted, I'm really hungry right now and jonesing for some cake. I better not write this while I'm jonesing for cake. And then you have an opportunity to sit back and maybe in a meditative conversation with her, say, where do you see this going? What legacy do you want to leave? And how could this article maybe tap into that for you
Mm,
in a way that might be different? So that's the input is the structuring your time, perhaps in metal, and
hmm
structuring maybe how long the article needs to be in order to achieve the goal, or how short, or should it be videoed, should it be just audio?
hmm
And then water is your ability to sink beneath what your very speedy wood and fire would love it to be.
hmm
And not that your wood and fire has the wrong perspective, but that it only has 40% of the perspective.
mm,
And we have so much more potential when we use all of our resources.
hmm
Does that make sense?
Totally. And say more, I mean, I know that obviously the intent or the reality is never going to be that we are each balanced in the 2020 around the circle. So how does that, like, is it that input output dynamic that changes depending on which our dominant ones are? Or does the fire kind of color all of it? How does that dynamic?
Yeah, so your questionnaire results show us what you're at risk for overbelieving when you're in stress.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And so you're at risk for defaulting into what's fast and fun and future and strategic and
Yeah.
only using those. So it gives you kind of a self-care strategy or a
Yes.
relationship strategy. Like anytime you
Yeah.
engage in the world, you're at risk for overusing those parts of yourself and underusing the others.
Yeah.
So if you notice anything that trips you up or any pattern that you're like, I wish I could do more of this, then you can look at your numbers and it's a prescription, it's a change model for
Mm,
you.
mm.
It's like, okay, I'm at risk for doing this really fast and being annoyed if it's no fun.
Yep.
I'm giggling because I'm like, we're twins. Yeah, yeah. So it calls on
Mm,
us
mm.
it shows us that, the things we already know, which are stopping and thinking a lot, is we don't, right. We don't,
Uh-uh.
yeah. Yeah. Like we don't think it's fun. And so we don't do it. And then what happens is we go down the road of a task or a project, and maybe we've gone a little while without doing the metal and water activities
Mm,
that balance it out. And then we start to feel like a little bit off balance and
mhm,
wonder why. So if you can get out in front of it and know, like, oh my gosh, I have this amazing new idea. I'm launching a Substack. And then you also say, and I know myself, I'm gonna over this and over that. So how can I give myself a strategy where I balance out my overactive stuff with the stuff that's the very thing that will balance me. So,
mhm,
for example, if you're going to do your Substack strategy for next week, you might go into your calendar, which is metal, which is a
Hmm.
structure, and you might say, I'm only going to do it for an hour a day. And then you might also break it down by, 9 minutes of silly, fun, engaging, 16 minutes of strategy, 9 more minutes of fun, 16 more minutes of strategy. And then also spend a little bit of time before you start. Go into a silent meditative state, which
Hmm.
is your water. So every morning, let's say you do it from 9 to 10, maybe from 9 to 9:05, you sit still in meditation
Hmm.
and you invite stillness, which which also is the non-judgment of self,
Hmm.
which allows you to kind of also go with the flow without being too hard on yourself if you get lost the whole hour in being fun.
Hmm.
And so, because
Hmm.
fire doesn't, it's not, fire doesn't need to turn into metal.
Hmm.
Wood doesn't need to turn into water. It just, it's just better if we engage most of the time at like 5 rather than with our primary at a 10 because we
Hmm.
make it really hard for the other parts of ourselves to show up.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Totally. Totally. So helpful. I had kind of remembered them as like labels of like who I am. And I'm like, yep, yay, proud, resonates, rather than like, you know, the suboptimal, how I react to stress or the default mode. So it's super helpful. That makes a ton of sense. And I actually love, and I think I remember this in that kind of self-care lens a little bit, like I love my meditation. I think I just don't feel, especially under stress or rush or pressure, the permission or the value in it.
Yeah, so that's if you look at your numbers, you're at risk for devaluing water
Hmm.
in yourself.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so one way to add that in without like by and skirt the resistance of the mind, because the
Hmm.
wood fire mind is at risk for impulsively devaluing water behaviors like meditation,
Hmm.
is to use other water strategies like one, staying hydrated with water,
Hmm. Hmm.
two, getting good sleep,
Hmm.
three, listening to nature sounds.
Hmm.
Water also corresponds, yeah, sure, to meditation, but that's the highest expression of water. Any expression is helpful in strengthening that water muscle. So
Hmm.
listening is like listening to gentle music, going outside and just listening to the sounds around you, being
Hmm.
inside and listening to the sounds and just noticing them without attaching any meaning to them.
Hmm.
That builds the muscle of the mind to hear information. So thoughts, other people's words, opinions, other people's eye roll or whatever, and notice it without making meaning of it.
Hmm.
So water is stillness and just
Hmm.
watching and observing and being the witness to information rather than
Hmm.
enmeshing in information and making it our identity
Hmm.
because we can't change things that we think are our identity because they are,
Hmm.
well, I am that. But if we start to have in bring in water, water is time and space away from the information from the object.
Hmm.
And as soon as we separate and we have a little time and space from it, we can look at it and understand the relationship we're having to it, which sometimes is the meaning I'm making of the fact that, you
Hmm.
didn't laugh at my joke.
Hmm.
And we don't know. We are at risk for impulsively thinking I must not be funny.
Hmm.
When really it could be the other person's, we were on mute and
Yeah,
like
right.
they didn't even hear the joke. So when we give ourselves water, we give ourselves space from the thought we just had, and we
Hmm.
invite in all these different potential reasons for it, which could be, my microphone was on mute. That person is hard of hearing and
Hmm.
doesn't hear words. That person has their kids yelling in the background and is desperately hoping I don't hear the kids yelling in the background. It could be anything, but if we quickly identify with our thought being true, all of a sudden we can't have a relationship to it, and then we think it's real,
Hmm.
and then have a spiral that could last for weeks, years sometimes.
Totally. Really helpful, really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Mm,
your water. So drink water, get good
mm,
sleep, listen to sounds, and gentle nature sounds, just to exercise the muscle of separating information
mm-hmm,
from meaning anything.
mm-hmm. Hmm,
Yeah. Yeah. So those are the three things I would say to do to build that water muscle. And you'll start to notice that your wood and fire stop seeing these extremes as a problem.
mm,
So it's a very different, like Five Archetypes is not about addressing the problem head on per se, because the ego loves that, like it almost identifies with it. And so it doesn't want to let it go.
mm-hmm,
But the ego doesn't know what we're doing when I tell you to drink more water, get good sleep,
mm-hmm,
and listen to sounds in the room. And so all of a sudden,
mm,
you don't even rely on that loudness of the fire and the wood need to either extreme have fun or extreme have a strategy, but rather you kind of start your day with this delicious structure and meaning
mm-hmm,
that means a little bit more than the extremes into the joy or the strategy, and you just elevate the meaning of everything you're doing and you feel more self-love and less
mm-hmm.
judgment about how you engage.
Yeah, cool. Where Earth is like other people, right?
Um, Earth is Earth is the digestive system. So
Oh,
it's food, it's
uh-huh.
relationships, it's conversation, it's collaboration, it's what's it called when you brainstorm?
Mm,
It's group activities, it's
mm-hmm,
community, it's
mm-hmm,
empathy, it's putting other people first.
mm-hmm,
It's slowing down to listen to everyone's story and everyone's
mm-hmm,
perspective. Wood can get frustrated with slow.
mm-hmm,
Wood likes speed, earth likes slow.
mm-hmm,
And so there can be a challenging energy in that space, but the challenger is only an invitation to measure your tolerance for slowness in yourself
mm,
and to balance that out and not to overvalue speed and undervalue listening to other people's thoughts.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sense?
Yeah, totally. And so that's kind of middle for me. Like I do that, it's fine, like no real medicine or watch out so much on that stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
unless you find a challenge with the earth in you, which is digestion, food,
Mm,
remembering to eat. Um,
not a problem. I've never skipped a meal. My husband says that. I'm like, I don't get how you like forgot lunch. Like,
I know. Yeah, I have no problem no problem remembering to
absolutely
eat.
unrelatable.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but
Mm,
if you find communication, relationships, harmony,
mm,
anything having to do with interacting with humans and people's perspectives being able to be held, if that comes up as a challenge, then we look at Earth.
mhm.
And we could talk
Yeah.
about that too.
Yeah. So fun. So good. Thank you.
Thank you, Nell. This was beautiful.
You're beautiful. Thank you, Carrie. That was so fun and so helpful. Water. I don't drink enough. I know that to be true, and I feel better when I do.
Yeah.
Easy takeaway.
Yeah. I mean, super, super, super simple. And it's so
Mm,
funny. We think that our cognitive and behavioral emotional challenges are only solved by focusing on the cognitive behavioral.
right.
When in Chinese medicine, we anything dealing with the water line, bringing it up if it's low, will help balance and soothe everything else.
Yeah,
So, yeah, it's pretty
totally.
cool stuff.
Very cool.
Oh,
Thank you,
thank,
beauty.
thank you,
So
thank you.
fun. Yeah.